it's gonna be the Red Scare. Okay. All right. So we're now in the 1920s. We're now out of World War One. During World War One, who did Germany send back to Russia? Huh? Vladimir. So the whole point of that is to destabilize Russia. Does everybody got me on that? Which was, again, you talk about art of war, that was a genius idea. It worked because it led to the Russian Revolution. Now, the Russian Revolution is where you had the Tsar Nicholas II, who lost popularity and based on bad decisions. And then you had who come back to Russia? Who again came back? Who? Lenin, right? So you had those two things combined, which led to the Russian Revolution. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. Now, this is all world history review, but still want to make sure y'all are good with it. So listen to this short video, talk about we're gonna not use that video. So Lenin, now y'all see what this guy looks like, right? It wasn't a really bad casting, if you will, from the video, but in 1917 he took power. You don't need to know the date, but just know in 1917 is when he took power. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. It was called as the end to war, all land and peasants. They put all private farms, industries, land, transportation under government ownership. This is what's known as communism. So they became a communist nation where everything was government ran. Does everybody follow me on that? Now, well, yeah, because it's people. What? Okay, I'm recording. You can go back and watch it. All right. So in 1918 is when you had the Civil War. You had what was called the Reds versus Whites. You had the Lenin supporters who were the Reds, and the Whites were former officials who backed the Allies. Then in 1920, the Reds ultimately won. That's when they became the USSR. Has everybody got me on that? So in 1920, which is why we're talking about this, because about the Roaring Twenties, right? So in the 1920s, exactly 1920 rather, is when Russia moved to the Soviet Union, because who won the Civil War? What was the guy's name again? Lenin. I want y'all to keep saying that because it's going to be important as we get ready to go to World War II. All right. Any questions there? Any questions there? Okay. So again, you're taking your notes right now in CTLS. Now, because of that, that led to what was known as the National Origins Act. One thing we got to remember, even going back to the Alien Sedition Act during John Adams' presidency, we've always had a fear of immigrants coming in. Is there got me on that? Particularly certain immigrants with different ideas that will go against American ideals or threaten our idea of capitalism specifically. So the Red Scare, the first one, caused a big stir up in America. The fear of communism was spread, caused the United States to put limitations on immigrants because they did not want communism to spread. They did not want what Lenin did to spread. Is everybody follow me so far? Which also led to isolation again. So we went from being very isolationist prior to World War One. Now we're becoming again very isolationist, which kind of led to us not being part of the beginning of World War II again. Now the Origins Act was passed with limited immigration from Asia and where? Eastern Europe. And again, where is Russia or Soviet Union at? Eastern Europe. Is everybody got me on that? And Asia, you should still going back to the whole idea of the Chinese Exclusion Act. Does everybody follow? Everybody clear there? So this is now the official start of the first Red Scare. We good? Okay. Now, 4 aspects of communism. Okay. Government owned by all land and property. A single political party controls the whole government. Individuals had no rights that the government was bound to respect, which means everything is government based. Has everybody got me on that? It is not a democracy. It is literally ran by the government. The government controls everything. The government vowed to stir up revolution in other countries and spread communism throughout the world. And as y'all know, that's exactly what happened after World War II. You had literally capitalism fighting communism. This ideology was hostile towards American beliefs and values, mainly because of the First Amendment and capitalism. That's where communism really goes against the United States values. Everybody clear there? You hear capitalism, socialism, because they worry about the idea of capitalism, free open market. You decide how much you want to spend on something. And the First Amendment saying you can say what you want to say and what you don't want to say. Now, this has a precursor because of 2001 and the Patriot Act. It's kind of questionable as far as the First Amendment, because you can say what you want, but you might have some very dire consequences if they are seen as to obey terrorism. Do I got me on that? So you really got to make sure you understand the Patriot Act is still there. And I know most of y'all was not alive there, but it's a big deal because of how it limits the idea of free speech. But communism is, again, government ran everything. Now, because government ran, they also set the price of how much people getting paid. So in theory, you can have the highest end doctor making the same amount as a janitor. So then and the reason why we hate that as far as capitalism is that it lowers the price of everything. Everything's the same price. So you look at the room, you have people with school computers, you have like me here with my Apple, and everybody with different computers, right? In communism, everybody got the exact same computer because it's the exact same price, which is the opposite of capitalism. So the whole idea about classism in theory was not there. And again, communism can work if you don't involve people in stereotypes and prejudice. Okay. All right. So now that is all you need to know about the Red Scare. Does anybody have any questions?